Welcome to the Free to Soar podcast. My mission is to inspire, empower, and equip heart-centered, mission-driven, kingdom-minded business owners to show up freely and fully as the brilliant, powerful change makers that you are, so that you can lead the business and the life of your dreams. You'll enjoy vulnerable, authentic conversations with me and other heart-centered, mission-driven leaders that will spark your heart and ignite your passion to powerfully transform you, your business, and your life from the inside out. Your next level of impact and income is about unleashing the fullness of you, reprogramming your limiting beliefs and patterns, tapping into and trusting your inner wisdom, and harnessing God's power within you so that you can unlock new possibilities in your business and your life. And this show brings it to you. Step with me into a God-powered reality wilder than your wildest dreams, with freedom, impact, abundance, and enjoyment that you were created for. Let's go. Well, welcome to another episode of the Free to Soar podcast. And I'm so excited that you're here with me today. And as always, we've got incredible guests, and I can't wait for you to hear the wisdom of our special guest today, Jim Purcaro. Jim is one of my absolute favorite people in this world. And you will see why when you hear him talk and you get to know him today. Welcome, Jim, to the podcast. And I'll introduce you more formally in just a second, but we're so happy you're here.
Great. Thanks, Connie. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited for you to be here too. And so much to talk about. I can't wait. But so for you guys, for our guests, or for our listeners, sorry about that. Jim is originally from New Jersey, and he now resides in Georgia, and he's the father of 2 children. He loves the outdoors, camping and hiking, and he's an avid bow hunter and has a love for cooking. I hear he's quite the cook. His affiliations are as an advisor and a consultant for Diamond Graphics, Mount Freedom Printing, Franklin Ideas, Trader Psyches, and Print Communication Group. He was a board member and has publicly served for the Pillar of Fire in Liberia, the Interfaith Food Pantry, the Rockaway Township Substance Abuse Council, Morristown Soup Kitchen, Dover Soup Kitchen, and Rushton's Hope. And he also served on a mission field in Liberia, West Africa, both on the ground and abroad for 10 years. He's quite the public servant, has a heart for service. You'll see that and you'll hear that in everything he talks about. But Jim is also a serial entrepreneur and a very gifted, talented one. He's the founder of many startups such as Print Communications Group, Black Bear Springwater, Affordable Self-Storage, and the Protega Group. Jim has a passion for developing teams and inspiring them to reach their full potential, which often is further than the team realizes is even achievable. And having built several successful organizations implementing his unique strategy, Jim's focus now, in addition to building another startup, is helping other business owners find their way. Most business owners are trapped by the business. I talk about that a lot. We'll hear more about that today. They can either have time freedom or financial freedom, but very few have both. His knowledge comes from the road of hard knocks, completely losing himself and never satisfied. His life quote per se, his mantra in life is that we experience life from an individual perspective. And we'll be talking a lot about that today, forming our previous life experiences. This is why 2 people can be in the same situation and have completely different experiences. And in doing Jim's personal work, he realized if he wants his life to change and to live the life that he was created for, he needs to first change his perspective, thus changing how he experiences life. And so you will hear him talk a lot more about that and his experience and the transformations that he has enjoyed in his own life, because he's willing to do the work, do that inner work that needs to be done. And so, Jim, we welcome you again to the podcast, and we are excited that you are with us today and that you'll be sharing your business experience and success. As I've gotten to know you, it is so apparent that your business acumen is so high, and you know how to build businesses successfully, especially scalable, sustainable businesses. You know how to develop teams. You know how to develop business leaders. But what I want to start with today and asking you is, what have been the hard lessons you've learned in business that have grown you personally and professionally the most over the years that you've been in business? Let's start there, and then let's move into the wins and the celebrations and the wisdom that you've learned also.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, thanks for the introduction. I hope I live up
absolutely.
to every word you were talking about.
No
Um,
doubt you will.
yeah, I think that in business, right, the hard lessons,
Yeah.
it's part of the process. Like there's really no way of avoiding it. And I would say that when I first got into business, I didn't realize all the obstacles I was going to be faced with.
Mhm.
And so I think
Yeah.
when I look back and just kind of unpack like the first real, I guess, hardship was is I think I got trapped thinking I had to do this alone. Like I
Mm.
felt isolated. I bought a partnership in a small little printing company, and eventually bought my partners out, and struggled to build the business. I think our first year in 1986 we did about 90,000 in sales, and when
Yeah.
I bought them out in 1989 we might have been doing, I don't know, 125,000 in sales. And I worked on it up until 1994 by myself, and kept believing in the vision, but I believed also that I had to do it by myself, that nobody else was really here to help me. And in 1994, I had
Mm.
grown the business to about $1 million a year in revenue. But the problem was I was working 7 days a week, 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
Um, it was all consuming. And I really never even knew the concept of a mentor or somebody helping you. And in 1994, I got introduced to a mentor who really opened up my eyes to looking at things a little bit differently, um, and helped me to look at myself and build and use resources so that it wasn't just all falling on me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so tell us a little bit about that story. How did you get into? Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or? And then I'll come back to the being supported part. But did you? Let's go back further. Did you always know, or how did you get into printing?
I didn't know 100%.
Yeah.
So Connie, is it okay to get really transparent with
Oh my
your?
gosh, yes.
Yeah. So I come from a family of brokenness, and like
Yeah.
most people do, and I got wrapped up with the wrong thing and the wrong people. So
Yeah.
I ended up getting clean and sober in March of 1986,
Yeah.
and the person, this gentleman, Normel Smith, um, he's really the one that encouraged me to broaden my thoughts of becoming an entrepreneur and getting into what he called like a legitimate business. And Normel was really clean and sober for a long time. He ended up being in a wheelchair because he fell out of a 6-story window after getting high
Wow.
and broke his back, and he just became a very spiritual um, believer, and just kind of he's the one who encouraged me to walk into this path. I never thought I could do it, but he was the one who really inspired me to try it.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you bought the printing company, and then at that point you realized, oh my gosh, like this is at what point did you, what was the turning point for you that allowed you to open to the fact that I don't have to do this alone, and asking the question, is it really possible for me to have more time freedom, more financial freedom? Because you said you saw the vision, you believed in the vision of your company, and but you were doing all that. You're like most entrepreneurs, and I was there too. You're doing all the things. You're in the business, working in the business day and night. And we go into business with the hope of creating something bigger than ourselves, but being able to enjoy freedom and financial freedom and time freedom. But very few of us actually see that and get to experience that. And so what was the turning point for you, that allowed you to believe that that was possible for you? And then how did you begin to create it? and enjoy that support of others coming alongside of you to build a business that was bigger than you, but was scalable and sustainable?
Yeah. So basically, the way I got motivated to looking for something different was becoming completely trapped and completely consumed.
Yeah.
And I think at the point in 1993, going into 1994, I was so completely consumed and trapped by this business. I don't know if you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yes.
but Robert Kiyosaki really points out that most people don't become business owners. They buy themselves a job, and that's what I did.
That's
And
right.
I was the hardest person on myself because I was focused on
Yes.
wanting to do the best I can. I think what happened to me is that when I was introduced to a mentor, he he was able to help me look at like building teams and really um, working towards um, like in team building. There's a couple of different methods, but you can become a tyrant and force everybody to do it, or
Yeah.
you could actually what I was opened up to was actually the possibility that the team itself actually had solutions that would really work better than mine because they're in it day to day. So what
Yes.
I did is I got involved with my team and I asked them for their help. And I mean, it started out slow,
Mhm.
but they provided ideas because they're on the front line. And so they came up with ideas to solve the problems and help us to become more efficient. And I found that communication. So when I get isolated and I feel overwhelmed, like probably a lot of business leaders do, I tend to be quiet and I
Yeah.
don't really communicate. Where I learn now is like, no, listen, we would have regular scheduled meetings and I would bring up issues and concerns and what the goal was, what we were trying to do. And
Yeah.
it was amazing how the buy-in from the team when they provided the solutions, like we grew exponentially after that. And then I had less responsibility of having to do something because
Yes.
the team felt empowered that, wow, I can actually come up with the solution and implement it. And as
Right.
long as it's towards this goal. So I think that's what really opened it up. And then realizing that not everything is going to be done my way.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be specifically done in my way, but
Yeah.
the outcome has to be extremely similar. So
Yes.
kind of allowing that to happen. And our business grew from 1994 to 2001 from a million in sales to 15 million in revenue. So
That's
it just
amazing.
had explosive growth. And in addition to that, I started to educate myself. So I got involved with Disney University and their education and worked in different business groups and really tried to expand like, well, what are other leaders doing?
Yeah.
Like, how are they working and growing? And I wanted to be a specific type of person. I don't want to be a tyrant. I want to make sure that I'm treating people the way I would want to be treated.
Right.
One of the reasons I got motivated to becoming my own boss or getting in my own business was how I was treated at my last job. And so I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that I didn't become a tyrant. And then lastly, I'll say is that if you focus on the process and it's based on efficiency and how smoothly it walks through and the constraints of your organization, and
Yeah.
let money be the byproduct, right? Instead of focusing on the money, focus on the process,
The
and the byproduct
process.
will be even more money. So that was the other
Yeah.
thing that I learned. I started looking at what is our process? How can we become better, and getting the team involved.
That's amazing. I love those points. And I want to come back to the first one that you said, that you realized that you didn't have to do it alone and you didn't have to carry it all on your shoulders. I think one of the loneliest, not I think, I know, and I hear this with entrepreneurs all the time, that one of the loneliest places is when is when we are carrying all the burdens by ourselves, when we feel the need to have to solve all the challenges, all the problems, and it's all on our shoulders, and we're spinning all the plates, and we don't feel like we can share that with anybody. We don't feel like we can ask for help. We don't feel like we don't feel like we are supported. And so we have to pretend we have all the answers, and we have to fix all the challenges. And I love that you were so authentic in that you just let your team in, you let your people in to help you. You allowed them, you opened to the support. That's one of the things that we struggle with the most is receiving the support's available to us. Are we open to it? Because of, and that's that old pride thing, and we don't have to be ashamed of that. That's just part of the leadership development and growth is understanding that we don't have to have it all figured out. We can ask for help. And that includes from our own people, from our own team, that allows them to step up into roles that they really want to play. And it allows them to have more responsibility that they want to have. I think sometimes we're remiss as the leader to think that we can't put more on people because it feels burdensome to them when actually it really invites them into the process. Like you said, it invites them into the journey at a whole nother level to be on the same team and to really participate in and get buy-in with the mission and the vision and the values. And you did that. And I love that about you. And so many of us, don't realize just how powerful of an experience that can be. Then to be process oriented, that is so important. Nick Saban talks about that a lot, and just how important it is that that when we do focus on the outcome, it actually it takes away from the process, and it causes more stress. It causes us to not see things that we would normally see if we just are in our process and being present in the process and not being outcome focused. I love that. That's such great wisdom to share. So what then that took you from, and give me the numbers again. You said from what revenue number to what revenue number over the next few years?
Yeah, in 1994 we did just about 1.2 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And I was, there was probably 12 of us, and I was working a lot of hours. To 2001, our annual revenue was 15 million.
That's
and I had
amazing.
70 employees at the time, and literally was out of the day to day.
Yeah.
I wasn't involved in a lot of it. I had the right people in place to take care of all that. I'm very excited about business development. I love the sales side of things. I shouldn't say I love the sales side of things. I love getting to know people.
Yeah. You're a people person.
Sometimes the sales process, is hard. People ghost you, and they promise one thing and don't come through. But really building relationships with people is something that I've always loved to do. I'm just very interested in getting to know people.
Yeah.
So I at least stayed in part of that, but the team really built it. And then we constantly had meetings specifically to improve the process. So the goal was not to make someone else's job harder.
Yeah.
It was not to keep them there at work longer. The model today is that if you're really good at what you do, they just load you up with more work.
That's
so
right.
It's less for you and your family. And to me, that's not a very holistic approach.
It's not healthy or sustainable. Yeah.
It leads people to burnout,
right,
and feeling unappreciated. And life is much more than that. As a leader, our responsibility, it depends on in the modern day here. A lot of it is about, leadership is about what you can get for you. Right. But there's people like yourself that are out there preaching a different message, in that leadership is about really caring for people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I worked with other business owners, I tell them this all the time. If you develop the right team and care for them, you will make more money than you could ever dream of.
That's right.
And it's really about learning how to care for other people. And when I say that, I don't mean being soft. I don't mean it's okay to come in 3 hours late or never show up for work. That's not caring for people,
No.
but really holding people, giving them the right tools and resources, and really encouraging them to experience their own life. Like, get to your kids' play, go to family outings, like make
Yeah.
sure you're having that part of your life. Because I know when I was young in business, I wasn't married at the time, but I was so consumed, I didn't do anything else but work.
Yeah.
And I was upset, and disappointed because all this work and owning a business, it was like so unsatisfying. It's like, this is not
Yes.
what I dreamed of.
Not at
And,
all.
yeah. So, and then just being trapped by it. And then when I could see the other side, not only did I want to live a better life, I want people around me to live a better life.
That's it. And as we elevate ourselves, we elevate others around us. It gives other people permission to do the same, And so if we're continually growing and developing, and then we're pouring into others and caring for them, it's the way Jesus taught, I mean, it's relationship. It's everything is centered on the importance of relationships and connection and communication. And if we're all centered around the same mission, it's just a beautiful thing when we care for each other. So I love that you experienced that. That's the greatest success, I think. And then to together build something bigger than you that is going to help other people, is just the ultimate. It's the ultimate reward in life, the ultimate experience in life. Um, well, so and you do that so well, and it's beautiful to watch. But so let's talk a little bit about some another pretty transformational thing you learned about how you were holding yourself back, that now shapes really who you are and the success that you have, that is that is growing you to the next level today. You've learned all of these incredible lessons, about caring for people, about asking for help, about letting people into your process, about focusing on the process. But there's another one that you and I, before we talked about what we were going to talk about today, that you had said, "Oh, it was the game changer for me. It was the thing that was most transformational when you realized how you were holding yourself back in your own success, in your own in enjoying your own freedom in your business, and enjoying your own in the life that you were created for." And yes, all of those things, all the doing, playing the role of being the doer in the business, not asking for help, not being in the process, all of that was so, so, so important to learn. But what was this other piece that you realized that has changed everything for you?
Well, I think to just boil it down, it's really the limiting beliefs that I've created for myself.
Mm,
And it's, to me, it's amazing that I could have so much success
yeah.
and then let some circumstances in life create limiting beliefs, that are transformational to really, it actually takes you in the opposite direction. It transforms you into a place of lack. So,
Yeah.
for your listeners for me to explain this, and then I'll tie it back to me. So, um, you know, if your parents were born in the Great Depression, which my
Yeah.
my parents were, they have a much different perspective of life. So growing up, I was always told to go to college, get a safe job, become like an accountant or, something like that, and work
Yeah.
for a big corporation because of the fear of what happened. Right.
Yes.
So, and then you could grow up in an entrepreneurial family that has connections. Like Bill Gates's parents were on the board of IBM, and he had access to computers, and he had access to purchasing like the mouse technology from IBM and the operating system because of where he was and what his parents did. And look at what he did with it. He became the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
So me having all this success in 2000, right? Then I went through a series of circumstances in life that I started creating these limiting beliefs. And so if I could just go through a short timeline of it,
Yeah.
it's like in 2001, when I sold my business, we closed 2 days after 9/11. And I lived 30 miles from New York City. My family's from the Bronx, and we could see the towers. And to me, and it still bothers me to this day, like witnessing all that, it was just a horrific experience. And it almost felt unreal. Like closing a business 2 days after, I almost felt like I was being disrespectful.
Yeah.
I remember telling the attorney that, and he's like, life's got to go on, man. You got to just keep moving forward. So in 2001, so my stock portfolio, because the market, 2001, 2002 kind of went into a bear market and ended up experiencing that. And then coming out of the other side, I started building again, and started Black Bear Spring Water and affordable self-storage, and actually Protega Group from 2003 to 2000. Well, got out of it in a lot of that in 2011, but then 2008 happened. And so here I'm working hard, and everything I worked for was just really ripped away. And, when you look at it, the way the government handled it, is like, if you were super wealthy, like a Goldman Sachs, you got hundreds of billions of dollars to stay afloat, except for Lehman Brothers. There's a reason somewhere why they didn't help Lehman Brothers, but they helped everybody else. Brothers was 109 years old at the time of its, downfall. But the average person like you and me and the average entrepreneur, well, whatever we lost, we lost. So in 2008, the price of diesel went from $1.25 a gallon to $5 a gallon. Everybody that owned a business that had an office, coffee and water service, that's the first thing they cut because of everything. So my spring water company took a hit. People were getting out of using places for storage. So my self-storage facility took a hit. So experienced this. So all of this was creating this limiting belief of lack. Like, even though I experienced success, the things I did forward were almost like I almost felt like the messaging I was telling myself is like, you've lost it. You're a failure. You're never going to get it. So I could tell you this much, and to your listeners, and maybe I'm unique doing this to myself, but I speak harshly to myself that I would never say to another person, nor would I allow another person to say to me. But I am so brutal on myself. And it's this thought of, like I'm a failure. Like, what happened? I'm trying, I'm doing the right things. And then of course you can look around you and see this, well, circumstances for other people are thriving. And then it just fuels it even more. And to bring it to a God thing, like I didn't become a believer until I was 49. So 2009.
Yeah.
And I thought, becoming a believer would help change things, but I was coming from the wrong perspective with God. So I'm a believer. All this bad stuff is happening to me. I can't seem to get it on straight. Every time I think I'm right at the top, it feels like, something is going to get pulled out from under me, right? The rug. And so trying to rebuild. So I created these limiting beliefs about myself. And so what I did was that I shrunk back. Instead of starting a new business, what I did was well, let me go try to help owners and other people in the printing industry, because that's what I know best. And then I tried working with 2 different organizations over 6 years. And what I found was that when you help people make a lot of money, natural greed kicks in, and then they don't honor the deal that you originally had. And I'm not saying all people would do that, but the organizations that I did ended up that way. So again, I feel like a failure on my own. When I'm trying to help other people, I'm feeling like a failure. I'm trying to be a good provider for my family and my children. Yeah. And so building all that up. And so just building these limiting beliefs, and not that, you've asked me to do this or say this, but to your listeners. So and this isn't a commercial for Connie because I'm not getting paid for it, but like that in the last 12 months, working with Arise and having the other entrepreneurs that I'm in a group with, and Connie, who just says it the way it is. So you've been able to help me in the last 12 months break out of something that I've been causing myself for the last 15 years, of this limiting belief of growth. And now in the last 12 months, I'm going to go from nothing to, we're just closed a piece of business that'll, drive $2 million of revenue for 2024.
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning. And now the way I look at it is that I have a team of people. It's not about me, right? It's about a much bigger picture. And
That's
so
right.
without your help and without the group's help, and, I don't think I would be where I'm at. So breaking that limiting belief, and then, through reading books like from James Clear, like Atomic Habits,
Yeah.
and really trying to look at, we only experience life the way we perceive it.
That's right.
If I perceive a negative life ahead of me, if I perceive it's going to be a struggle, well, it'll be a struggle because I am going to make that come true. But if I believe that it's going to be something that I'm not going to say easy, but if it's something that I can easily do and that I will come to a resolve, then that's what's going to happen. So I realized in 2023 that I could choose to be happy no matter what circumstances happening in my life, because we will work it out. The goal is to work out whatever obstacle there is. So life is happening for me to learn and not to me, right? So I'm not playing the victim role. So it's really kind of opened it up to now the possibilities are even bigger than I ever dreamed of. And I can see, and I'll shut up so you can ask a question.
Good. I love this. Makes it easy on me.
Yeah. So now I can see, because of the work I've been doing with you individually and through the group and the books that I'm reading, is I can catch myself much sooner now. Like when I start creating this limiting belief of a situation or a circumstance. So like when, for entrepreneurs, right, we kind of always put our eggs more like in one basket.
Yep.
And we're hoping it works. And if it doesn't work, it's like, oh my God, it's the end. But no, that's not the truth.
No.
It's not the end. It's only a situation, and it's the road to success.
It's a new beginning. Yeah.
Exactly. So right now I'm able to catch myself much sooner and say, wait a second, whose voice is that? That's not the truth.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Absolutely.
really not the truth. It's only this moment. And then based on what I'm telling myself creates a perspective, or, how I think life is going to be. And that's how I'm going to experience it. So it kind of all ties together. So it's been really freeing for me. So I believe right now I can tell you that this business that I'm building now, I am going to work about 1/10 of the amount of hours and probably make 6 times more than I have ever done in the same situation.
I love it. Wow.
So,
wow.
and I don't want to say it's easy because there's still days of doubt, but that's what it looks like it's unfolding to.
Yeah, that is amazing. And praise God for that. But you've been willing to do the work, and you've been willing to look at those things that are standing in the way, that have kept the lid on you, that have caused you to feel like there are limitations and obstacles where there are not limitations and obstacles. Those limitations and obstacles feel very real to us, but they're not the reality if we are willing to shift our perspective and to learn how things really operate in the way that God created them, and to learn and to understand how our mind is created to protect us from possible threats, and to allow us to live very well in survival, but then that takes away and causes us to have to struggle and survive and strive if we buy into those limiting beliefs. And actually, those limiting beliefs, you talk about them, they start early on. They start 0 to 7 years old, when our subconscious mind is a sponge. And so everything that we are modeled, everything that we get a message around, everything verbally, everything that we experience creates this filter, exactly like you're saying. It creates this filter that becomes the filter that creates the reality that we live in. And so we, in order to change our reality, have to change what we are willing to, have to change our perspective. And literally something as, as a small limiting belief, like, oh, everything's happening to me versus for me, or, I'm not a great leader, or I don't manage money well, or, things are, something could be, it could be something so small as, I am, I'm going to mess it up. I, can't trust myself with money. I can only make this amount of money, whatever that program is, that belief is that is creating our filter is going to be our reality until we can change that, shift that, transform that into a into more expansive belief that allows for something else to be true.
Mhm.
And that is um, a powerful transformation that when you experience it, it's amazing that what can be, what we can achieve, what can be our new reality in our business, in our life. And yes, it takes work. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. What has that been like for you? But what I have heard every single time is that it's not nearly as hard to do the work to get the next level result as it is to continue the work in the struggle. And
Mhm.
there's nothing harder than just continuing to believe that same old thing that's keeping you limited in your perspective and that's keeping your reality limited and what you're able to create. There's nothing harder than trying to work against that kind of resistance, versus just taking a look at it, doing the work, making the investment in yourself and in your business to grow into a new reality and a new perspective to expand that. And then, wow, you've got 10 times what you thought was possible for you at your fingertips happening for you, and you never could have imagined it could have been the case. So let's talk about what has that been, what has that work looked like for you to do that inner work, to recognize those limiting beliefs, to and to begin to transform them.
Well, I think it started with it's that burning desire inside, right?
Yeah,
Of not being happy or satisfied,
yeah,
and knowing that there's something possible out there.
yeah,
The first limiting belief, it probably was always like, it's for someone else, it's not for me, right?
yes,
It's not something that I'm going to ever get, but everybody else will get it. And so
right,
I think that the start is to recognize it and to be able to acknowledge it. And so I actually, uh, about a year or so, maybe a year and a half ago, was referred to your organization through my doctor,
yeah,
right? So, I go to Dr. Harris in Peachtree City, and she's a functional medicine doctor. And she really, after listening to me, thought that you know it would be good to get connected. So I think
yeah,
from doing that, I learned to you had started helping me to dig into things much deeper.
yeah,
And I think that that's what really started. So the work is, I've always been one to look at and learn, right? So
yeah,
even back when I was doing $1 million in revenue, I knew that I had to change to that person that was going to have to be in the future running a
yes,
$2 million company and then a
yes,
$5 million company. So I've read countless books, been to countless seminars, and programs through the 90s and 2000s, always trying to develop myself for that next level. And then, of
yes,
course, I hit the roadblocks like I just shared with your listeners. So I think that it starts out with really trying to define, what is it like, what is my why and where do I actually want to go? Like,
Yes.
very specific. And I think that that's what the start of it was. And then to unpack it and really kind of think about, well, really, what is it that I'm really trying to do? Because back in the early days, in the mid 80s, to when I sold the company, I thought money was going to bring me happiness.
Yeah.
And then I made millions of dollars, but I was trapped by my own life.
Yeah.
And none of that meant anything to me
Yeah.
because I was miserable. And it was
That's
just, you talk about being the rat on the wheel. Like once you get stuck in there, it's hard to break free. And it's actually more work to stay on the wheel and keep everything
Yes.
afloat. And to be honest with you, it's not good for your health. It's not good for your life expectancy. And it's probably against everything that you ever wanted to do in business and how you wanted to live.
Yeah.
But then we become trapped to that. And so breaking free from that is starting to really dig in. So I made a commitment to start writing every day, to unpacking like, so what are the beliefs that are limiting me? Like what is actually not true, not only in the business world, but in the world with Jesus? Like what is the truth that I believe about Jesus that I think is true, but it's not?
But it's not. Yeah.
And then start unpacking like, well, why do I believe that? And then whose voice is really telling me
Yeah.
that? Like inside, and you talked about our body is developed, a way to protect ourselves. And there's that voice that everyone has that tells you like, when to back away and even when you shouldn't, it's still going to tell you not to do it, right?
Yes.
So, and that to me is like my mom, right? Be safe because she was a depression baby. Don't do that. It's too risky. And so really trying to unpack that. And then, I made some goals this year. What books do I want to read? What is useful in my life? So most times with change, we always think we have to add things to our life.
That's right.
And some of it we might have to, but to be honest with you, there's a lot of things that I needed to cut out of my life.
That's it.
Right. And to free it up, like how much, YouTube time am I having or unproductive time, watching videos or whatever it is, or Netflix or, and look at like, so, okay, what am I wasting time on and just kind of using to get through life? And so by eliminating that, it opened up more bandwidth and more energy to kind of focus on, okay, what do I really want? And it's not like, I kind of want that. It's like, I must have this, right?
That's right.
And make it a must have. Like I'm going to really, I want to put all of my effort to it. Now, I'm going to hit roadblocks and I'm going to stumble, but I don't have to get up and start from the very beginning. I just have to get up and start from where I currently am, which is much easier than going back to the beginning. So I think it's a combination of that, like really making a decision in your life. Okay, what do I want to change? And then I'll caution the listeners, because I have to say this for myself, is not to try to do everything all at once. To come up with a plan. So the other thing that the group has helped me out with, I'm in a phenomenal group with other entrepreneurs where it's really breaking out. Okay, what's the next step you can take? It's not the next 5 things you have to do. It's like just the next thing. And then what's after that? And then really be encouraged, be challenged, like in the thought process and then kind of moving forward with that. So I think that's really the process for getting from where you're stuck to where you can have freedom and open up possibilities.
Absolutely.
What you want for your life.
That's so amazing. I love that. And you just listed out the process and it's so good. I'll recap it for everybody. So what do I really want to create is what I heard you say. And that is so important. Getting really clear on what's my why and what's my vision? What matters to me? What was I made to do? What was I designed to build? And what do I want to co-create with God? What does he want to co-create with me? And then getting real clear on that, but then deciding, making that an intention rather than just, oh, I want that. Want energy is still from that desperation, lack energy. The intentional energy is from the I'm deciding to. I'm defining, I'm deciding, and I'm declaring that this is where I'm headed. This is what I'm doing. And then you said, who do I need to become in order to create that? Who do I need to be as the owner, the leader of that business, of that organization? And then you start becoming that person. You do the work to become him or her, so that as you are becoming and embodying that leader, that reality happens through your process. And that's the beauty of it. We don't have to wait for this outcome, this external circumstance to happen for us. We become who we're created to be. And as our identity begins to elevate and we understand who we are and what we're really capable of, and we embody that on a daily basis, then we create that reality in our lives. And then we understand, all right, what's stopping me? What am I going to have to take a look at? What is that programming that doesn't align with God's truth, capital T truth? And what is that programming that is not allowing me to align with the fullness of that identity of that leader I need to become in order to lead that particular business and that organization? And we understand, what are those things that are stopping us? What are those limitations that we need to take a look at? And then it's asking for the right support, the right guidance, the right help to get that the guidance that we need to change those limiting beliefs, limiting patterns, limiting programs that we can absolutely change in order to get us there to become that person that is leading that next level of that business or organization. And then understanding what really needs to change. What do I need to release? And oftentimes you're right. We want to look at what we need to add, but what do we need to release? Because it's that whole 80-20 principle. And, it's like, what, there's, do we need to, are we stuck in the 80% of the things that produces 20% of what we really want? Or are we really focused on the 20% that produces the 20% of the things that we want to be doing, that is producing the 80% of what we want? And that's a game changer when we get super, super clear and focused on where our time and our energy and our resources are best spent in order to get us where we really want to go. And you've done all of that so beautifully. And like you said, it's a process. It's a doing it of every day. It's a realizing, a working it out, and a growing every single day. What are the daily disciplines that you have put into place to help you through this transformation process?
Oh, okay. So
let's get to the nitty gritty. Yeah, because you work your process and you do it very well, and it does require some discipline.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's not perfect all the time, but because
no, of course not.
We have life. I would say that just to kind of outline it, one is I'm in the Word every day. So I wake up, and that's kind of my first priority, is to get into the Word, and and I have a prayer list that I go through every day of people, and then I read declarations that I've written about things. I'm revising it, so it's a living document. What I started out with 8 months ago is not the same declarations I'm saying today, but I'm declaring what my limiting belief currently is, and why it's not a limiting belief anymore, why I don't believe it. So I read that aloud every single day. And then I also do guided meditations 4 times a week. So that I'm taking time in the morning, and it's, there's 2 that I mainly work with between 20 and 30 minutes of time. And then I also added an exercise regimen to my routine. So I'm actually exercising frequently. And I was doing it every day, but it becomes over the top. It's like I'm an extremist, so I have to dial it back and make it more balanced. So I exercise frequently, really trying to look at what I'm eating to provide energy. And so, there's, days where I'll go out and I'll have whatever I want, but I don't want to do that every day. And so really kind of added that. And then I've committed to, right now I'm reading a book. I just finished Atomic Habits a
Yeah.
few weeks back. And then I've implemented some habit stacking ideas. So in the morning in my daily routine, after a specific thing that I've done out of a habit, I'll stack another habit that's a positive habit in the direction that I want to go to.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. And right now, I just started the book, The War of Art, which is
Mm,
my deck here. And I didn't realize that Stephen Pressfield actually wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, which is a movie I loved watching um, with Matt Damon and Jack Lemmon. But
I didn't know that either. How about that? Yeah.
yes. Incorporating reading, so most successful CEOs, and I'm not sure how they do this, but statistically, they read like 60 books a year.
Yeah.
And, they're constantly learning. So that's the other habit that I'm trying to do is to learn. And then lastly, I just want to say that I constantly work on just forgiving myself. Right?
Mm,
It's like,
such an
it's
important part.
totally okay. It's like not everything is going to be perfect. Not everything is going to turn out exactly the way I want. But when I look at the picture of like being easy on myself, because I have that tendency to have that harsh talk, is to really, when I'm doing that and I'm looking at forgiveness, I'm really focusing on what am I grateful for?
Mm,
I have
yeah.
a great life. And so I just want to really focus on that. So I kind of do that mix every day. And then there's
Yeah.
some days where, if I'm out on vacation or out camping, hiking, it, whatever, and I don't get a chance to do it, I don't beat myself up. It's like, okay, I'm going to get back to it when I can. But I want to
Yeah.
enjoy life fully. So I think those are the things. And from that, it transforms itself into the next thing I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes, such a beautiful thing. Oh, and you brought out a couple of, I just want to go back to a couple of things that you said. I love that you said you speak your declarations every day and you speak the opposite of, you're actually speaking the opposite of what you've been believing, and you're speaking as if it already is the new reality. And you
Yes.
are speaking that every single day, no matter how you feel. It doesn't have to, we go too much on our feelings. We don't have to feel it to be true. We just have to, we are speaking it into our new, we're shifting our perspective as we hear ourselves say it. And it's so powerful, such a powerful process to do that. So we have to rewrite our script because we keep waiting on our script to change for us. It's not going to change for us. We have to change the script, reinforce the new script, declare that, and watch that show up as we embody that new truth and live that new truth. And it's so important, like you said, as we change our beliefs, then we change our actions. We need to change those patterns and be living in alignment with making decisions in alignment with that new truth, regardless of whether we see it yet true or not, because it will change as we begin to change it. And then I love that you said, what you practically said was you're learning how to live in forgiveness and including your self forgiveness, and learn how to really receive grace, how to
Hmm.
live in the beauty of grace and self love and gratitude. And there's nothing more powerful than that. That is expansive energy. When we choose that, there is we get into flow, we get into alignment, and we open to new expansion and new possibilities, and things become available to us that weren't otherwise when we're in that um, self-loathing or self-criticism or the not giving ourselves grace and holding ourselves, being critical, and holding ourselves to every you know perfectionistic standard that there is, and that does no one any good.
Hmm.
So I love that. It is a discipline, but it's also a self love and a grace, and
Yeah.
it's towing that, finding that flow of both. That is such a beautiful process. Well, I know we've got to wind down for today, and you've given us so much incredible, really practical things, to so much wisdom, and then really practical things to inspire and encourage others. But I want to hear, is there anything that you feel like you haven't gotten to say that person, that entrepreneur out there who is doubting, and is still in that mode of struggle and is still in that, they've got the vision, but they just don't quite know like how it's going to happen. They just feel like they've failed. It's over for them. When are they ever going to get it right? What do you have? What do you want them to know? What encouragement do you have for them today?
I would say that if you're in that place, to know that you're not alone, and
Yeah.
uh, that you could, I would, I'm going to just say it's probably going to come out harsher than it is. Kind of what
No,
Connie said is like, listen, nobody is coming to save you,
that's right.
right? And so it's up to you to break free of the trap of yourself and then start reaching out for help.
That's
And
it.
there's a lot of different programs that you
Oh
can
gosh. Yeah.
reach out. There's free help, which is not always the
Absolutely.
best help. But there's also a lot of services. I mean, you could reach out to Connie's organization and they can point you in the right direction. And so know that this is every single successful person that has started a business is in that hard, they've been in that hard place. And that
Yes.
they felt the same thing. They felt desperate. They felt like it was never going to happen. They weren't really sure. I mean, you could read all these successful people. They've all been in that place. So you're actually in a great place. You're in
That's
where you're
it.
supposed to be as an entrepreneur. And so we believe that the limiting belief is, oh my gosh, if it's not perfect and sunny and roses everywhere, I must be doing it wrong. But that's the lie.
That's exactly right.
The lie
If
is it's going to be easy. And
right.
now you have an opportunity because you're faced with whatever the obstacle is, and
Yeah.
there are so many people out there willing to help you, and they're not looking to take anything from you. It's like,
That's it.
so be encouraged that you can break free from this and you can completely transform your life. And most entrepreneurs, like, we're just talking about business, but if you're struggling, I almost can guarantee you're struggling at home too with your
That's
relationship.
it.
And
Yeah.
so
Can't
guess what?
separate.
Yeah, you can't. So you're struggling at work, you come home, it's struggling. And then you're
Yep.
wondering, like, why am I even doing all this? It's such a waste of time. And
That's
it's
right.
not, it's a lie, this freedom that they promised me. So I would encourage you to reach out and try to get, help in some form or fashion to overcome your obstacles.
Yeah.
And remember, start out small. And I know it might seem desperate and dire to you right now, but this is something that I learned recently. If money can solve your problem, it's really not a problem. And
That's exactly right.
you can't wrap your head around that, Steve Jobs had all the money in the world, but couldn't solve his problem of cancer. Okay, that's a
right.
real problem. So
Yeah.
if money can solve your problem, you don't really have a problem. I know it feels like that. It's overwhelming. And I've been there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'll be there again. And then just
Yep.
to remember that, you can get help. And for me, it's also including prayer and trusting in what Jesus promises, his promises to prosper us and not to harm us. And it doesn't mean there's going to be a check showing up in your mailbox. It means that you got to get up and work. And so,
That's right.
if you're ready, with the teachers out there to show you, the mentors out there to show you, and you have to be willing to say, well, I got to look at the hard parts because my best thinking got me here by
That's
myself.
exactly
I
right.
need to break free from that. So I just want you to be
Yeah.
encouraging. I want to be encouraging to you. Everybody that's been in a hard place that is super successful has experienced exactly everything that you're going through right now. And they
That's
just
it.
didn't give up. So you got to hold
That's
on
it.
and try another way.
That's it. The teacher will appear when we are ready, when we're ready to open, and we're open to grow. It always does. So just ask and reach out, and people are ready to help. That's so good. The other thing is recognizing, and that's that whole thing of when you shifting that perspective from this is an obstacle I can't get through to no, this is an opportunity for me to grow. This is an opportunity for me to learn something new that I am primed and ready for. And that opportunity is inviting us in all the time. And it's just a matter of whether we're going to accept the invitation and see it as an opportunity. So I love that. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know you are just, you are just killing it, and you're doing such amazing work, and you're making such a difference in the world. And I'm just grateful for you and thankful that you were here today to share all this with so many that needed to hear it. And so thank you for your heart and for your courage and your authenticity. And we really, really appreciate you sharing with us.
Thanks for having me, Connie. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Absolutely. Well, all right, you guys, I hope this really touched your heart. I hope it inspired you. That's what we are all about here, empowering, equipping, and encouraging you to show up in the fullness of that, to grow into, develop into the fullness of who you were made to be, your true identity, and to build your dream, because your dream is put in you for a reason. It is yours to bring into the world, and you have everything within you and around you to do it. It's just getting out of our own way is the key, and that's where the work is. But there is no harder work than staying right where we are in the resistance. So I encourage you to answer the invitation and do the work to get out of your own way. And I'm here to help you in any way that I can. And I hope that if this did impact you in a positive way, that you will share it with somebody that you love, and or that you know that needs it, that you love too. And I will see you right back here on our next episode, where we will continue to equip and inspire you to become the change maker that you are, so you can build your dream. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Have a great one. Bye. Thanks for joining me today on the Free to Soar podcast, where we empower and equip you to lead the business and the life of your dreams with freedom, impact, enjoyment, and abundance. I look forward to our next episode together, and I invite you to subscribe to be notified of new episodes as they are released. Please share this or your favorite episode with a friend or a loved one, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review on iTunes and Spotify.